Hey guys, this is EcksToo. Hello and welcome to another Squadrons video over here on EcksToo, and I'm excited because today we are talking about something that honestly I did not think we would be getting for Star Wars Squadrons, and that is a fully CG trailer. Very cinematic, very cool, and the way this video is going to work is, first of all, I'll give you guys my basic impressions just of the trailer as a whole, and then after that we will scrub through and talk about each individual scene. I'll give you guys some things I noticed and some things that you might be interested in, and we'll call it a day. So hopefully you guys are cool with that format. Just generally though, before we get into the specifics, I did think this was an amazing trailer. I watched it live on YouTube with a lot of you guys on the EA Star Wars page. The hype was incredible. It was really cool seeing everyone cheer for the Imperial pilot, who, despite being an Imperial, was sort of a protagonist of this trailer. Which I think is interesting because one thing that Star Wars games and Star Wars as a whole sort of struggles with is how to make Imperials likable. How do you, because you know they do believe in these abhorrent things. They're supporting a faction which destroyed another planet, but at this point, you know, it's just somebody fighting for the military they've been in for a long time. They're fighting a war to survive. Sorry about that. Let me turn my phone off. And I think that that is compelling and that's interesting, and it's one way that you can sort of have a story work without forcing the main characters to leave the Empire while still being likable. And we do know at least one character leaves the Empire, but I would guess by the end of this game that Titan Squadron will either be dead or still within the Empire themselves. Alright, so with that being said, let us go through the trailer sort of scene by scene, and I'll give you guys some things I noticed. The first thing I think worth noting is that this trailer takes place just right before Star Wars Squadrons. We know that because of the references here to the Varsha dockyards, and we also hear the Overseer given as the name for the Imperial Star Destroyer. The interesting thing is that the Overseer, of course, is the Star Destroyer attached to Titan Squadron, or from which Titan Squadron launches from, and it actually has a full databank entry on StarWars.com, which actually mentions this battle by name. So here it is, I'll read it word for word. Recently, the Overseer responded to a New Republic strike against the Imperial dockyard at Varsha. Though the Overseer was damaged in the battle, it was able to throw off New Republic pursuers and return to search for survivors. Now refitted and fully overhauled, the Overseer is ready to return to the front lines. So this is a ship that has seen some damage. It has maybe even gotten some upgrades, but one thing that's worth noting is that it says recently on the databank page. So this is very, very soon, before Star Wars Squadrons, almost like a sort of prologue or a prelude. With that being said, let's continue. We have a nice shot of a Raider class coming in here, one of the Corvette types featured in Star Wars Squadrons, just being absolutely eviscerated by some Y-Wings, which is beautiful. And then we've got something very interesting here. So, I will preface this by saying not everything featured in this short, of course, will be in Star Wars Squadrons, and that this was a joint effort between Industrial Light and Magic, or ILM, Lucasfilm, Motive, and EA. So there's a lot of people working on this, and it seems to be largely an ILM production. That being said, we see this very thick ship over here, which is definitely not a Home 1 type. I initially thought, alongside of course an MC-75 and an MC-80 Liberty, I initially thought that this was a wingless type cruiser, which a wingless is basically a Liberty type without the full wing protrusions. And it does sort of have an edge like this, but this is far too wide and far too large. And after looking into it, and kind of just looking at the shot for a few minutes, I realized this is actually the MC-95, which is a new ship type actually introduced just for the Battle of Exegol and the Rise of Skywalker. Specifically, this is I think it's the MC-95A, but it might be the E. It's one of the designations. I'll put it up on screen alongside a full screenshot of the ship. Either way, interesting that it made its way into this trailer. As I said, that doesn't indicate that it will be in the game, or even that this is meant to be an MC-95. It is possible that because ILM was working on this, they just used an asset that they had ready. But I don't know, because there's Home 1 assets available. There's an MC-95 type that looks almost exactly like the Home 1. that they used, for example, in the Rise of the Resistance. So it's interesting that this ship is here, especially because it does have this sort of striping on it, which I didn't notice when I watched the video on YouTube. So hard to say, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Is the MC95 here just a coincidence? Is it indicating that it might be in the game? I don't know. It's also possible, as I mentioned, that this might not canonically be an MC95 because it is a post-Endor model by the New Republic. Did they get a ship out this quickly, presumably even before Jakku? Hard to say, but let's continue. One thing you'll notice about all the ships here, even the CR90s there, they all have sort of unique striping in a design to them. You can see the MC95 right there as well. And they recently announced on the pre-order page that the look of the New Republic and Imperial ships here will be added as a pre-order bonus. So that's pretty cool. I just paused here because it's really cool how they fully recreated the game's UI, well, sort of UI, as the full cockpit here. It looks exactly like it does in the game, which is just really nice attention to detail. Especially because the Squadrons TIE Fighter cockpit is sort of divergent from other TIEs we've seen so far. I will say I also really love... There's the Overseer right there, by the way. I really love how deadly this treats the TIE Interceptor, because I had a new appreciation for that after playing Star Wars Squadrons and also recently dying immediately to a TIE Interceptor in X-Wing Alliance. So as I said, this manages to portray Imps as, likable, despite the fact that they're Imperials, by showing, the bonds of war between fellow soldiers. The TIE Bomber is an absolute duck. I mean, the thing had 3 A-Wings on it, just let it go. Kind of heartbreaking, though. That's the character known as the Hunter there, the kind of ace for the New Republic. Really cool character, even though we know nothing about him other than that he's a rival to this Imperial in a sort of dance they do here. Full powered engines, let's go. One thing I noticed too that I meant to point out is that the Star Destroyer, I don't know if we'll get another chance to see it. I love that shot though, of the fleet just from away, kind of ranging fire at the Star Destroyer. One thing I noticed, I'll just point out before we continue, is that the Star Destroyer parked at the shipyard here, the one half destroyed, is actually an Imperial 1 variant compared to the Imperial 2. So interesting that they got 2 different Star Destroyers for this trailer. I wonder if we'll see an Imp 1 in the game proper. Yeah, I just love how they're at the range of the fleet, and there you can see the MC95 there. It's that big one. There's another good shot of it in a minute, but yeah, really cool. Yeah, right there. You can see how gigantic this one cruiser is. Alongside it, we see every other ship in this trailer is featured in Squadrons. Alongside it, we see Imperial transports. We see Nebulon B. We see CR90s. I just love this shot. And the pilot's name, by the way, is Varco Gray. He's been featured in other promotional material, although, of course, you wouldn't recognize him until you saw his face. I dared to hope that it would be like maybe Soontir Fel or somebody. But really incredible pilot. And he is actually the leader of Titan Squadron as well. Love how he's repairing himself. I appreciate this trailer because, let's be honest, this isn't something that's going to happen in game, although you can fully stomp, which is cool. Something you couldn't do in, like, Starfighter Assault. But yeah, I just appreciate this because there's so much kind of atmosphere put in this in a way that doesn't translate directly to marketing the game, I guess. But we've gotten so many great Star Wars CG trailers. I'm really happy that this sort of joins the ranks of some of the best of them. Really look at the X-Wing cockpit. Lots of little details there. You can even see, like, he's got his, back a second. He's tracking the ship right here on his sensors. One thing I'll miss after playing X-Wing Alliance is there's no rear sensor in this game, which is very useful. I'm just going through the atmosphere and burning up on re-entry. Presumably the X-Wing had a little less issue with that through its shields. See the TIE Interceptor about to deploy some countermeasures, which is a game thing. I don't think there's a countermeasure which sends a missile back towards the ship firing it, but if there is, I will definitely be using that. Just the TIE Interceptor model itself is absolutely beautiful. We've came so far with Star Wars ship renders and everything else. I love how it's taking damage flying, or it's taking some damage flying through the atmosphere as well. Glancing shot there. Right through the wing. Yeah, the TIE, oh, it did a little drift there. The TIE Interceptor can just maneuver in a way that an X-Wing can't. Doesn't have a shield. Doesn't have missiles, at least it does in the game. It generally in canon it doesn't have a missile loadout, but it's just so nimble. I love the little, even the detail of this this planet. Like you can tell if I just manage to scroll back, we've got like farms on these plateaus here, which is really cool. You got moisture evaporators, little homesteads. Wonder what's going down in the forest that people are spending all their time building up there. Yeah, the shot of the ISD coming down, like that is amazing right there. Now, of course, I don't expect space to atmosphere combat to be a thing in Squadrons, so first I thought that was his name. I was like, what? The war is definitely not over at this point. Well, it is for him. So the thing is barely chugging on. Probably strap in. It's about to get wet. This is like Charlie playing that ice level on Mario Kart. Spends more time in the drink than anything else. Reminds me of the Rogue One music here. We couldn't talk about the music too much because I'm talking over it, but all in all, pretty impressed. Same with everything for Squadron so far. Made himself a little fire. I wonder if there's any regret when he sees the Imperial ships come to rescue him. Determination, but also, you know, he was close to just a life on the beach. Working a rice paddy. By the way, super cool trailer. Big fan of it. I love, kind of funny that I jumped to this shot right away. It was what I was aiming for, but I love that all of the ships featured in the game for the Imperial side, because this is an Imperial trailer, they're all featured. And this kind of also makes me wondering, is it possible we see a New Republic trailer now? I don't know. I mean, I assume they've made that decision already. It would make sense because they focused a lot on... Also, I just gotta say, I love how much detail the Star Destroyer has now. Even those, you know, these little ventral guns we see in like Rogue One or whatever else. But yeah, given that how the game is bifurcated between, you know, both sides and they focus on the campaign for both factions, I do wonder whether a New Republic trailer could be inbound. But guys, I think that's all I've got to say about this. Don't want to drag this video on too much. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of the new Star Wars Squadrons trailer, Hunted. Let me know what you thought. Was this as awesome as I suggested? Were you maybe disappointed? Were you even more impressed? Let me know all of that and more down in the description. And also, can we get an F for that TIE bomber? Most heartbreaking death I've seen in a while. I hope he at least fired all of his missiles before he went down. Till next time though, guys, have a good one, be safe, and may the Force be with you.